So just over a year ago, I did a video going over something called the Willful Smartwatch. At the time, it was one of the better selling smartwatches on Amazon, and I decided to give it a look. And that video did fairly well, especially for the time I was uploading. Now, since I uploaded that video, about once every 3 days or so, I get an email from some random smartwatch company, some usually just like generic Chinese brands, trying to get me to review their watches. And usually I ignore it because this isn't really a smartwatch channel. But then a company called MISIRUN sent me an email asking me to review this thing. This is their Z35PRO smartwatch. And the reason why I was slightly intrigued by this one primarily is because it has a camera on it. I thought that was a weird feature to include in a watch, so I wanted to learn more. Now this right here is the Z35. If I go ahead and throw it on my wrist real quick, you can see that it's actually a sizable watch. I mean, it's big for me, and it's a giant watch in my opinion, because I like bigger watches, but this thing almost covers my entire wrist, and I got a fairly large wrist. So in this video, we're going to be reviewing this thing, going over some of the system specifications, because it actually runs a full Android operating system. You could put any Android application on this essentially. So we're going to be checking that out, and we're going to be checking out that camera. The camera is the thing I'm most interested in, so we're going to be saving that for the end. So make sure you watch this all the way through if you're interested in that. All right, so here is the watch. Now for specifications, this is a 1.6 inch LCD screen. I wish they would have went with the AMOLED. It would have made the blacks a little bit better and all that, but overall it looks okay. It has an aluminum frame around here with those second kind of numbers all along the sides. Now the actual body and build is a polycarbonate plastic, so it's pretty strong, should last you a while. And then on the back here, we have this like carbon fiber mesh. In the packaging, it includes this little screwdriver, and that is to access this little thing right here, where you could go ahead and put your 4G SIM card if you would like to have data connectivity all the time to this thing. Then right here we have this little spot for the charger. It's magnetic pins. This right here is the charger, and you simply set it on there and you are good to go. On this side here we have our power button and back button, and then flipping it back to the back, this is our heart rate sensor. Now one thing with this heart rate sensor on the back, it's not the most accurate thing in the world. I used it on my wrist while I was in the gym a couple of different times, and it tends to read a lot lower than what my actual heart rate is. And I mean anywhere from probably 20 to 30 beats per minute less, which is significant. So if I have my heart rate up to a normal 130, it reads somewhere around the 100 mark. And I tried it numerous ways. I tried it tight around my wrist this way, tight this way, loose, all different ways. And I have a Pine watch right here that you can kind of see. And I wore these at the same time. And this one was fairly accurate with what the machine was telling me, while this one stayed a little lower. But again, that could just be me. I'm a little thicker, so if you have a skinnier wrists, it might work better for you. On this side of the watch, we really don't have anything, and for the watch bands, they're just your standard watch bands, so you could go ahead and switch this out if you would like to. So that is our overview of the build and specifications of this watch. As far as the battery, I mean, it lasts a full day for sure. But if you want it to, and you actually use it daily, you're going to end up wanting to charge it every single night. That's definitely a con for me, but that's primarily because of the connectivity features, Wi-Fi, data, whatever you want to put on it. If you turn it to airplane mode, you probably get a little bit more data out of it. But I know even when it wasn't connected to anything and I had the screen off, it would last about 3 days or so. So it all just depends on your use case. So now what we're going to do is actually go onto this watch and check out some of the things that you could do on it, the applications, the gallery, weather applications, stores, maps, things like that. Essentially, it's full Android on here, so it's pretty cool. And now we are on the actual UI of this watch. So this is the watch face that I've been using. And if you want to go ahead and change this, you just go ahead and hold down, and then you could swipe through all the available watch faces. And they do have quite a few different ones to choose from, probably more than I've ever seen included out of the default on a watch like this. But for example, let's just go with this one right here. There we go, good enough. So now on this watch, if I go ahead and swipe down, we have quick access to turn on airplane mode, our brightness, GPS, all these little dialogues here. We could clean up our system by tapping this button, and there we go. So now we could go ahead and swipe back. If you go this way, we can see some information on our actual charge, what is going on our system, the date, the time, all that. Swipe up, we're back on our watch face. If we go ahead and swipe down, this is where we get some of the fitness stuff. Now this is the step counter for the day. I just woke up, I just turned this thing on, so it's going to say 0. And that's about it. If we go ahead and swipe over from here, we also have our kilometers walked, calories burned, and things like that. As far as the actual step counting on this thing, it's fairly accurate. I did a test where I walked 500 steps and actually counted, and it ended up reading like 510 of them. So a little bit more credit than I deserved, but not too bad. Now from here, if we go ahead and swipe over, we can see some of our notifications. Now you can see I have Twitter installed, so if I go ahead, swipe down, you can see some of the other notifications I have. Now if I go swipe over, this is a list of all of our applications. So like I said, this is full-fledged Android, so we have a lot of different things here. We have contacts, phone. If you have a SIM card in here, you can actually use it to make and receive calls. I forgot to go over this, but on the back here we have a microphone, and on this side that is our speaker. So you can actually use the phone on here if you'd like to. You have messages, settings. Now here we're on the web browser, and one thing with this watch is since it's so big, I can, even with my giant thumb here, I can actually manage to type things. So if I go CNN right there, you can see now we are going to the CNN webpage. It might take it a sec to load up here. There we go, now it's coming up. So we have full CNN website here. I wouldn't recommend going to that website, but if I go ahead and hit my back button, we could go ahead and go back to our applications here. And from there we have downloads, calendar, we have camera, which we'll get into. We have our gallery, music. I'm not going to run through every application or else this would be like a 30-minute video. But we have our file manager, heart rate monitor. We have our fitness stuff, weather. We have voice search, the Play Store, maps, assistant, as full Google Assistant by the way, system optimization, and these are some things I actually downloaded here. We have Twitter and Candy Crush. So if I go Candy Crush, for example, you can play games on this thing if you really wanted to. So there it is, and you might be able to hear the music playing a little bit. So we're going to go ahead and hit play here and jump into a game real quick. Alright, so here we go. We got it fired up here. So you can see the animations are good. It's pretty smooth. And if I go ahead and try to do a move, I mean, this is super small. So I'll try to, and you can see it's actually recognizing where I'm trying to go. And it's working just fine technically. I'm not really good at this game. I never play it unless if I'm like demonstrating something like this. But overall, you get the point. Let's back out of there. So now the camera, the moment you've been waiting for. Now, when I first opened the link to check this out, I honestly didn't skim through all the pictures. I just saw, oh, it has a camera. Sure, I'll try it out. And I was thinking that it would be one of those cameras that's like integrated behind the screen. So when you actually kind of hold it up on your wrist, you can like FaceTime with people or take selfies or whatever. And I was thinking that would be the main purpose of a camera on this thing, like some Jetsons type stuff. But it turns out the camera is right here on the side. I avoid talking about that earlier so we could kind of get to it here. And I mean, it's a good spot if you want to take normal pictures, but I was really hoping it would be the look at the watch type situation. But the camera overall is okay. I'll put up a couple pictures that I took with the camera right now. And you can see it's really not that bad. It's a 5 megapixel camera. It's not the best thing in the world, but you're going to be able to take some pictures. But the main problem with this thing is when it's actually on your wrist here. Here, let's throw it on real quick. When it's on your wrist, the camera's right here. So to actually take a picture, you got to do like a Spider-Man, like bend to the wrist like that and take a picture. I mean, it's a tricky situation. And like, I got a little bit of hair on my wrist here. And I really got to bend that down so you don't see any of the hair on my wrist. Now, one thing that I want to demonstrate here is that actual camera app. What I mean when it's like you got to do some Spider-Man techniques to be able to point and shoot it. So here's the camera, and I have my hand resting how I normally would. And you can see, you can't see nothing, but as soon as I bend my wrist down, we can see. And what I'll try to do here is take a picture of this keyboard. So let's try to position it properly. And like right now, I'm bending my wrist like this. So position that, snap a picture. There we go. I'm going to tap on it to go into our gallery here. And this is the picture. So I'm going to zoom in here a little bit so you guys can see it. I mean, it's really not too bad. You can see on those keys it's getting a little pixelated, but I mean, it's pretty cool, I guess. Alright, so what we're doing here is actually trying to test the camera. You can see I gotta really bend the wrist if I straighten it out. Yeah, so this is a camera and microphone test, basically. It's definitely weird, and it's way more difficult to use than it would be just to pull out a cell phone, hit one button on the lock screen, and take a picture like a normal person. The only situation that I can see this be like useful for is if you're trying to take pictures without people noticing and you just want to do like a little limp-wristed take of the picture. And I mean, the only people who'd want to take pictures with people not noticing are creeps. So basically, if you're buying a smartwatch like this for the camera and it doesn't have one that like you can use for FaceTime or Facebook Messenger calls, with all that said, if you're interested in this thing, there'll be a link down in the description below. Big thank you to my YouTube members and Patreon supporters. We have Mitchell, Valentino, Phil, Mac, Timo, Anthony, and Kyle. You guys are some top tier Patreon and YouTube members. Thank you all so much for your support. If you are interested in becoming a YouTube member or Patreon supporter, there will be links down below. Do it through YouTube. You get emojis, some perks like that through YouTube. So you can do that if you'd like to. With everything said, I hope you all have an absolutely beautiful day, and goodbye.